in a Carly ban, the Aurelia not being touched, makes a lot more sense, is all I'm going to say. Zhao left open, though. So going to be prioritized by Xiaohao. And I think we're seeing what we kind of talked about before the series. Both junglers looking to aggressively establish control in the early game. Obviously, this Lee Sin can still be flexed, but it means that they have an aggressive early option to lean on if they want to go for that. And Top Esports is trying to decide potentially on the Sett, which can hold up pretty well into the Renekton in the top lane. And they will just lock that one in, and then very quickly picking up the Sylas for Knight.
No.
Which I rate
It's
that.
over. It's over.
Yeah.
The draft is won. Knight got Sylas. That's the game. We can wrap it up. Let's move to game 2.
I think as well, obviously with the Sylas, you're always thinking about what ult you can take. Jin's ult is pretty good, is all I can really say on the subject. So being able to steal that one away, definitely favorable. Now, Rogue Warriors, toying with the idea of the Ryze. Obviously, it's something that can kind of harass the Knight down while also shoving the wave. After you get a little bit of mana in your pocket, you're able just to kind of clear the waves endlessly. And also, it's pretty good at setting up ganks with that point and click route. Can very easily get Xiaohao in. And now, going to the second rotation, seeing 80 carry bans. Kalista going to be taken away by Rogue Warriors. I imagine we'll see Varus banned at some point. There it is from Top Esports. And then usually at this point, things like the Thresh, the Nautilus, the Leona, you could see as bans. If you want to keep targeting 80 carries, maybe the Aphelios is something you want to get rid of.
So I just want to quickly, while these bans are coming through, I want to quickly mention why I kind of overreacted to the Knight Sylas being locked in. For anyone that hasn't watched Top Esports this split, hasn't had the pleasure of watching a Knight Sylas game in Season 11, he's played 6 games of Sylas so far this season. He is 5-1. And across 6 games, including a loss, he has a 21 KDA. Not to mention, in that loss, he literally 1v5 to save the game and then got backdoored again later, so he couldn't actually do anything to stop it. The man is a literal monster. Is that a no ban from Top Esports? And then an Aphelios lock-in?
Yeah, pretty wild. I felt like maybe we'd see like the Aphelios band away, or even something like the Thresh. For Top Esports, you know, maybe you want to prioritize the Thresh in this situation. I feel like leaving Aphelios Thresh up is kind of dangerous, but I guess we'll see. You know, maybe Top Esports, like, we've already got Knight Sylas. We don't really need to ban anything else. Game's over anyway. And
yep. That could be their thought process, or maybe, I mean, like, also they were banning 80 carries, right? And I think maybe saying, look, we want to see what you're going to go for, and then pivot around that. So maybe just wanting a bit more space. Regardless, it's going to be Ezreal Leona locked in. Does mean Yanja can roam around pretty effectively.
Yeah, I think in this situation, both Thresh or Braum would make sense for Rogue Warriors here. I think Rogue Warriors could be pretty happy with their draft. I think bot lane, you know, Aphelios is always going to have priority against Ezreal. Braum is a very good matchup into Leona. Mid lane, you should be able to find priority once Ryze has some mana. I'd say Zhao super strong in this patch, a lot of early pressure. It kind of feels like, to me, Rogue Warriors has the pressure advantage in lane. They also have arguably like the stronger early jungler, but you have to take the nameplates into account, right? This is Top Esports, a lot of comfort on this side. You know, Knight Sylas, JackeyLove and Ezreal. As much as I feel like Rogue Warriors are giving themselves the best chance possible with this draft, I still think they're going to have a big challenge converting that into a win.
Yeah, I mean, that was always going to be the case, right? And I do love that I love it when we get 2 teams on the stage with essentially matching uniform colors, kind of going head to head, deciding. It's same with like BLG versus Suning, Top Esports versus Rogue Warriors, the red and the black. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The Top Esports are going to be a heavy favorite coming into this one. And regardless of the draft, I think most reasonable people would be saying the Top Esports is still the favorite coming into it despite draft, because this is one of the teams that regularly will ignore their own win conditions and find wins despite of that fact. Like, we've seen plenty of times when Top Esports are running a scaling competition, they skirmish in the early game, they just have better hands than the opponent and they win anyway. So we'll see if that's going to happen here today. Let's talk how these compositions are going to function, though, because every time you see an Aphelios in the game, you always have to think towards scaling and towards kiting away from the fight.
Yeah, and I think that applies here massively, especially with the Ryze as well. If you think about the composition of top esports, it's only really Ezreal who's got sort of a longer range. Everyone else will be likely looking to dive onto the side of Rogue Warriors, trying to deal with the backline. And that's where you get so much value from the AoE damage from Ryze, from Aphelios, once he's got that rune dance especially. He can kind of just fire things off. So a big thing for top esports is obviously, getting a solid early lead is always an advantage, but also approaching Rogue Warriors backline from multiple angles, looking for flanks. Whereas with Rogue Warriors, it's very much just protecting their backline, setting up kind of a wall to keep them safe and running interruption. And I feel like it's one of those things where when you see a draft like this, I think if you flip them, I'd be really concerned for Rogue Warriors. But I think when it's this way round, like this isn't like an auto win for Rogue Warriors. It just sort of gives them a good chance based on that. But again, as we were saying, top esports, definitely not a team to be underestimated. And we are going to see not too much action in the early level 1. Just, pretty standard stuff.
I think a key thing to look at as well is the skill expression that this top esports roster has available, right? Ezreal for JackeyLove. You've got Knight on Sylas. You've got Karsa's Lee Sin. Like, that is maybe the most vintage pick in the entire league, honestly. And then QingTian as well on this set, incredibly good at being a team fighter. Guess what QingTian's biggest strength and biggest boon to this team has been is his team fight presence. So it does feel like even if it's not the perfect composition for the meta, it is a very strong composition for top esports specifically, but we'll see how it's going to pan out. So let's talk pathing here, Aux. As we see Karsa pathing up towards the top side of the map, Xiaohao doing the exact opposite on this Xin Zhao and actually skipping his Krugs. Are you anticipating some early ganks here towards the bottom side?
I think it's going to be kind of difficult because I expect Rogue Warriors bot lane to have priority. That they should be looking to push the wave in. So I think the opportunity to actually gank is a little bit limited. I think it's more based on the Scuttle Crab in this situation. Although, if you actually look based on how Rogue Warriors bot lane is playing, they're keeping this lane very neutral. They could have pushed this in. They could have tried to take the level 2. Instead, they're sort of just kind of chilling a little bit. So potentially not wanting to push too fast. But I think for the most part, this kind of guarantees Xiaohao is able to get the Scuttle on the bot side. Whereas Karsa paths up towards his top side because the Sett has better priority contestation level 1.
Here we go.
And it looks like, that neutral lane state paying off.
You're absolutely right. They've set up the neutral lane state. They've set up a gank for Xiaohao. They've set up an early kill onto QiuQiu. Rogue Warriors just playing the flute and top esports dancing to their tune.
Yeah, really nicely done. And I think, honestly, for top esports, in a scenario like this, you have to suspect something, right? Okay, this is Braum, Aphelios. They should be pushing us in. There's no reason why they just, would let both bot lanes hit level 2 at the same time, unless they're looking for something like that. But fortunately for top esports, they don't kind of manage to react to that one, and Zhao gets a strong early gank. He doesn't really miss too much as well, as he's just going to be able to path back up and clear his camps towards the top side. He picks up that bot side Scuttle, but looks like top esports were trying to make a play onto Forge, but he sniffs it out. And saying that, he's just walked up again, so I think
so he saw QiuQiu on the ward. Yeah, there was a ward at Chicken. Right, QiuQiu just gone and swept that now. So I think he was feeling confident because QiuQiu could be seen clearing the ward. He just maybe wasn't aware Karsa was on the top side of the play. Doesn't matter. Doesn't happen in the end anyway.
Yeah, I think maybe Chocho on the reset coming mid kind of gave him that confidence to step up. So, makes sense. And honestly, Rogue Warriors, good start. I think all things considered, mid lane going massively in favor of Forge right now. Obviously, Knight Sylas is going to be a monster later on, but this is kind of why you're picking the Ryze into this matchup. You have that priority. You can kind of zone the Sylas away. And now he's reset, picked up an Oblivion Orb already. So Knight, it's not really going to get too much easier for him for the time being.
Yeah, makes that Sylas lane significantly more difficult. One of the advantages Sylas has once you start to get a couple of abilities is you do max your W, that Kingslayer. Gives you a lot of sustain during the laning phase, and being able to go a little bit more aggressive with those trades against an Oblivion Orb, that does become a little bit harder. But I'm keeping my eyes on Karsa here. You can see him on the screen. He already made an attempt towards mid, and it didn't quite work out. Now he's rotating towards this bottom side of the map. And this is where we often see Karsa move towards in the early stages of the game. He loved to make a play for QiuQiu and JackeyLove. They clear the vision. Karsa moves into the river here. But look where Xiaohao is on the map. This could be a 3v3, and karsa going to be just channeling a recall for the time being. The wave pushed way too far up for JackeyLove and Zhuo. They're trying to reset it, trying to finish off those last couple of minions. It looks like the wave state will reset. Looks like Xiaohao won't find an opportunity either.
Yeah, I think karsa's presence there was kind of just given some cover. And you can see Betty having the Infernum start to trim the wave pretty heavily. Wasn't really in the mood to set up a freeze. And so as a result, karsa's like, okay, you guys seem like you're okay. I'm going to be able to back off now. And the wave will now be pushing towards top esports. So, you know, might miss a CS or so off the back of this, but ultimately shouldn't be too much of a problem. They should be completely fine there. And karsa's happy to go up towards his top side and continue clearing. And you know, other than that early gang coming out from Xiaohao, it's been a pretty slow early game, especially considering the junglers that we are seeing. But I think both teams kind of just confident to let their laners get a little bit of alone time to scale up.
It's going to be exciting to see how this mid game goes, because it does feel like Rogue Warriors are leading the charge so far. We said Xiaohao, often the driving force for this team. They like to be fairly aggressive early. And the key thing here is if they happen to have good lane matchups, which they do so far, right? We talked about the Ryze versus Sylas. We talked about Aphelios having pushed the bot side. karsa's in the mid lane. Forge flashes out, keeps himself safe for the time being. It does feel like even the scaling conversation for Rogue Warriors looks pretty good with an Aphelios and a Ryze there. So if they can continue to control the Drakes like they've just picked up that first one, they're winning out the laning phases, which is something that top esports historically, that has always been one of the big things to talk about, is how good they are in the lane and therefore in the rest of the game. Well, when you're down in CS across the board, it's not a great way to start the match off.
Absolutely, and I think when you look at the composition from top esports, you're thinking about the backline access, the dive threats from the Sett and the Lee Sin, and the difference they'll make if they're behind when we get to those team fighting stages is the burden of execution so much higher. If you're ahead and you have a composition like this, it doesn't matter if you land everything. You know, if QingTian gets a good combo onto Forge, that probably is just enough on its own to kill him. Maybe you have like a true shot barrage flyover. But if you're behind, speaking of behind,
Forge is in trouble.
The dozy do.
Wait, the road whoop has been out road whooped.
It's like leapfrogs. He just goes over the heads. Oh, slick one from Forge. Saw that one coming and just able to get away. And it does obviously mean that Forge doesn't have that ultimate available to him. So, and without the flash as well, might struggle a little bit to move around the map. And you see top esports is going to head over and start that Herald up. But I think Rogue Warriors want to contest this, and I don't see a reason for them not to.
All right, well, QiuQiu has just set off recalling, whereas QiuQiu is making a beeline straight across the map, but it's going to be a smite fight, and karsa's going to beat ZDZ, who doesn't have smite. In comes QingTian, Showstopper comes through on Xiaohao. There's the Haymaker. He will go down. Top esports in full retreat here, but they got the Herald and they got away with it.
Yeah, still a win for top esports. Herald for a kill. You take that one, but Rogue Warriors trying to do as much as possible to sort of make things a little bit more even. Taking that blue buff for Forge there, taking a kill onto QingTian, and do you not see Engage coming in?
Pick coming out here off the back of it. Knight getting on top of Forge. No realm whoop this time, buddy. And Knight grabs himself the kill.
Yeah, and honestly, just a little bit of a mistake there from Forge. Took an aggressive path towards the mid lane. Definitely could have gone a safer route, and I think didn't anticipate the re-engage. And now, you know, I said Rogue Warriors trying to make it as even as possible. It's a kill for a kill. That blue buff has just been transferred onto Knight, and obviously top esports getting a Herald. Definite win for them on the back of this play.
Yeah, and top esports, this is what we always praise them for: creative and different plays that we get to see. The smite coming out from karsa, QiuQiu unable to get it, and then this is basically just the repeat, the retreat distraction play, right?
Yeah, just I think the big factor there as well was, as you talked about, the supports roaming up. QiuQiu was going to be there sooner, so top esports were like, right, we can't win this. It's going to be a 4v3. And then when QiuQiu gets there, they're like, okay, you know, we feel confident now. We can go for the aggressive play.
Yeah, and managing to find a pick off the back of that really was a consolation prize that turned it into a very positive play for top esports. But they are still massively behind in gold right now. It's a almost 1,500 gold lead in favor of Rogue Warriors, and it's down to karsa to try and change that fact. But importantly, it wasn't karsa that picked up the Herald. But forget the Herald, because he just wants to go onto Forge. There's the ward jump, but Xiaohao is here too. Karsa has been red, and Xiaohao is the first one on the scene. It means that the top esports jungler just has to back away and help push the wave.
Yeah, and it's trying to fish for those windows where you can use the Herald, but you have to be pretty cautious. If you try and do it without a wave, obviously the opportunity got punished.
Oh, we've got a big 1v1 actually. They're going to commit to this one. Showstopper comes through, but the Dominus is enough. ZDZ just destroys him.
Yeah, just absolutely dominates him. And obviously there's that little bit of extra gold he got from that earlier kill, but QingTian, I mean, we highlighted his strengths in the team fights, but really dropping this kill in the laning phase in a solo kill, not ideal overall. And as well, he's the one with the Herald in pocket, so, you know, he's now dead. He's going to have to come back to lane, catch that wave. It's kind of the window is tightening on when they can use that. And just again, Rogue Warriors, though, looking good. Solid so far. We said draft favored them in the early laning phase, and they've not just sort of capitalized on that. They've really looked to like sort of make things happen. They haven't just sort of been satisfied with, okay, our lanes are okay. They've done proactive plays, and ZDZ finding that solo kill, obviously pretty impressive, all things considered.
And now Drake is up once again, so they can keep that ball rolling, keep being proactive. There is a control ward in the pit, so top esports have full information that this is going on. Chocho has finally spotted that one out. Those wards in that corner can be very pesky, can be difficult to deal with because sometimes they're not always spotted. But that is going to be 2 Drakes. It's going to be a Mountain Soul coming out here. And the next sort of 5 minutes, I think, is where we're going to see this start to heat up, folks. I feel like that's when we get to see it. But let's look at the solo kill.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is ZDZ chunks QingTian out really early with that Q. The ult just doesn't quite do enough damage to really take him down. And the Renekton with the Dominus down as well, a lot of sustained damage. And we do see the Herald thrown down top. They're looking to dive on the back of this.
I'm going to try and get the kill. That's one down, and QingTian flashes out to safety. The Herald got the charge as well. Forge, I mean, he's TP'd in. He's trying to do something. He's got a bit of damage, to be fair to him, but I don't see a way he can 2v3 this one alongside Xiaohao, especially since Yanja's arriving as well. Plates being traded in the bottom side. You got to expect Forge has to back away here, or a redive could come out from top esports.
Yeah. I think he has to play this one safe. But he cleared the wave is a critical thing. Thinning that initial wave out slows down the pressure from top esports. And because we saw Yanja roam all the way up to the top side, it gave this window for Betty and Chocho just to apply pressure on the tower. So even though the Herald was used by top esports, they only got 2 plates. Rogue Warriors able to get 3. So it's still Rogue Warriors trading up. And you mentioned before the Mountain Soul. I actually think this is probably the best dragon Rogue Warriors could have got. Because we're talking about how like they want to protect the backline. They want to keep them safe. The extra shield from the Mountain Soul just makes it even more difficult, right? There's that extra little bit of resistances, and then that extra just flash shield is going to make it so top esports will struggle to take out those high priority carries, and it's going to need that extra bit of damage. When you're already behind, it's kind of hard to be able to afford it.
Now, I do want to quickly mention where we're at in terms of items so far, because, you know, we do have ZDZ doing very big things. I'm never sure whether to say ZDZ or ZDZ, because I know most of the talent team here is like it's the Commonwealth talent team, right? Like we've got an Aussie, we've got a couple of Irishmen. I'm English, you're English. So there's a lot of Z pronouncers, right?
Yeah.
But ZDZ does just roll off the tongue infinitely better for specifically that name. So I don't know. I'm torn on that one. But yeah, I was talking about items. We've got Gore Drinkers for the top 2 on Rogue Warriors. We've got a Kraken Slayer finished for Betty, who's already fully stacked a cull at this point, as well as getting those 3 plates in the bottom side. So as Betty is getting big, does obviously need a few items on Aphelios before he's really impacting the game, but it's good to see him finding those items early on. Then when you look at Knight, 4 stacks on the Dark Seal already. Everfrost finished. We've seen this before from Knight Sylas. We've seen this kind of precursor to him taking over a game.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me is that with Forge and Betty, I'm kind of looking at sort of the 3-item point. Typically, you know, you have your core damage items, maybe even a defensive on top of that, kind of puts you in a comfortable spot. Whereas for the likes of JackeyLove and Knight, 2 items is probably going to be enough. Their mid-game spike is really strong. Has to be respected. And it looks like, you know, the Herald play is done by Rogue Warriors, but because they commit so many resources up there, they leave their top bot lane exposed. Top Esports trying to get this tier 2 tower, and we do see Rogue Warriors bot lane come to defend, though.
Yeah, we've got a fight on our hands. It's going to be QingTian in trouble. Showstopper outside of his Haymaker is there as well. And QingTian will go down for his trouble. There are 3 men under this tower. And I don't know why Top Esports are pushing so hard for this one. Knight has to back away next, but it's a double kill into the pocket of Betty. That couldn't have gone much worse, because Xiaohao and Forge have got a charge on the inhibitor tower at the other side of the map.
It's just an absolute disaster, and I completely agree with you. I'm not sure why they're pushing the number there, but I have to give credit to Rogue Warriors. The move to put their bot lane in position really smart. And, you know, we said before, if you're not getting on top of this Aphelios, he's just going to absolutely shred. And this is why the Aphelios Braum is such a powerful combo. With those guns as well, all you have to do is just auto someone, land your passive on someone. Aphelios procs the stun almost instantly, and he just absolutely shredded. We'll see this here. So QingTian just kind of oversteps, gets locked down, doesn't even get to play his champion, can take his hands off the keyboard for a few seconds. But it's just the fact that they can't really disengage, and then Karsa gets a bit too close, very quickly stunned by Betty, and the follow-up is just there. And right now, this Aphelios is a massive problem, especially with that extra influx of gold there. They're dragging in 15 seconds. I'm not even sure if Top Esports are going to contest this one because they're so far behind. I think from the pings coming out, they're just letting it go. And, you know, I respect the decision, but it feels pretty bad to be giving 3 dragons to the enemy team at 17 minutes already.
Yeah. And Rogue Warriors, I wasn't sure whether to bring this up before the game. And I decided not to because it seemed a little bit too tenuous. But if you think back to last split, Rogue Warriors, they managed to defeat Top Esports. And it was truly a monumentous win for them because, if I'm not mistaken, it was their only win of the entire split. They managed to take down Top Esports. And right now, we're looking at a scoreline of 2-5. We're looking at a goal difference of 3,000 in favor of Rogue Warriors. We're looking at 3 Drakes in favor of Rogue Warriors. And a fed Aphelios down in that bottom side for Betty, who has been consistently the carry for this team. Aux, maybe I'm calling it too soon here, but I'm liking the look of what Rogue Warriors are bringing to the table.
It's looking good. It's looking good, honestly. I think we can kind of get on the hype train tenuously. We'll buy a ticket. We're not boarding yet, but we're ready and waiting at the station. I think the big thing for me is that Top Esports are closing in on their sort of mid-game spike. I think if things go wrong there, if they're not able to regain control of the game at that point, I think Rogue Warriors are in position to take this, right? We have 4 minutes on the next dragon. That is critical mass in this game. By that point, probably we'll see JackeyLove finishing off that Manamune. And if they haven't got to the point where they can comfortably fight Rogue Warriors, that they can't deny that Mountain Soul, I think Rogue Warriors momentum will just get, you know, more and more. We'll get on the hype train. We'll continue to the next station. And I think it should be, you know, a strong first game for them.
Oh, Betty's gone too far forward, though, and he's just removed from play. Top Esports, you make a tiny mistake, and they take you apart. Betty got greedy, wanted his Kraken Slayer procs, thought he was Aphelios and he had a Braum, so he was fine, but it's not how the game works. And now Top Esports 5v4. It's their turn to put the pressure on. They're underneath the tower here. Feels like Rogue Warriors do want to defend. There's not enough minions for Top Esports to get greedy.
Yeah, honestly, you know, it's not good. Don't get me wrong. Definitely a mistake from Betty, but not really going to drastically change things too much. A nice little bit of gold over the Top Esports. There's still 3 minutes till that dragon. He'll get back on the map. He's bought that Runans. It's just an overstep. He was going for the route on his JackeyLove. The whole setup was there. It's a really nice engage coming in for the Leona, and he just gets popped. And unfortunately, it's JackeyLove who gets the 500 gold, so he'll definitely have his 2-item spike. You can see he's already completed that with the Manamune. So this next fight, sort of ramping up to be the big one. And I'm looking at Betty. He's got the Runans and the Kraken Slayer. That's a hell of a spike. It's just whether they can keep him safe. And Karsa's fishing for him right now.
There's a really crucial point I want to bring up before this fight kicks off. We've got 2 minutes. It looks like Betty's flash will be up. I'm not sure that his cleanse will be because he used it in that last little pick. That could be crucial. If Betty mispositions or if Karsa's able to get a kick on Betty in this next fight, that could be enough for top esports to change the pace of the game. Right now, they are behind. Right now, it's Rogue Warriors in control. But if top esports can make the next few minutes count, that could certainly change.
Yeah, I think it's really important that even if Betty gets caught out in the next like 30 seconds, he doesn't flash, because you need that for that team fight. It's good he didn't have it there because he didn't end up using it. I think he should actually have his cleanse up just in time for it as well. So it should be full summoners across the board for Rogue Warriors. And on the back of that, I feel comfortable for them, because I actually feel like in a lot of situations, Rogue Warriors having summoners is more important than top esports having summoners, because, you know, these are mobile carries like the Aphelios, like the Ryze, super reliant on those. And don't have a thresh to sort of get them out of a sticky situation. What I actually want to see here is I want to see Betty push this wave in. And I believe he should have enough money. And if he does, recall, buy a stopwatch for this next fight. Because I really think this fight is the big one that's going to dictate the game. I think if top esports win it convincingly, we'll see them deny the Dragon Soul. We can see them head straight to Baron. Okay. And actually, there is a potential play that could go on here from Rogue Warriors, right? They don't need this Dragon. Not even by a long shot, right? They have an Aphelios who has very high DPS on Baron. What they could do is bait around the Dragon area and then Realm Warp to the Baron, kill it in a couple of seconds, back out. Top esports only have a Mountain Dragon to show for it. So keep your eyes out for that potential play. And they've actually done it already before the Dragon even spawns.
Why bait for the Drake when you can just go straight away? Top esports don't even know it's happening. They are completely unaware. Rogue Warriors have pulled the wool over top esports' eyes. They've taken the Baron before the trade even needs to happen. Now 15 seconds until the Drake is up. JackeyLove gets tagged by a Q. He will back away. Rogue Warriors are like, look, we still don't need the Drake. We can just push with a Baron wave onto this mid tower. There's a little replay on the bottom right of the Realm Warp to get the carries into the pit. Now face checking into this river. Top esports have already started the Drake off. Rogue Warriors do want to contest here. JackeyLove could be in trouble, but he flashes into the Dragon Pit. Could have a 50-50. Xiaohao moving over. No smite for Xiaohao, so this should be top esports Drake coming through. And now the rest of the fight. Showstopper in. There's a Haymaker on 3 as well. QingTian, huge engage. But do they have the damage to finish the fight? Knight stuck at the front line. It's JackeyLove free firing though. Rogue Warriors getting low on this one. And this skill expression on these champions. The chase down from top esports is possible. It's 1-for-1 so far. Rogue Warriors slowly but surely get chased, but looks like they've got out with it.
Yeah, and it's really important Rogue Warriors disengaged on that one. The Dragon's already gone. There's nothing really to play for in this fight. And if you die, you lose that Baron buff that you were able to pick up. So completely the right call to disengage. It was a little bit messy. And again, top esports are spiking hard right now. I really feel confident in the items they picked up. The Ezreal and the Sylas in particular. It's not worth risking it on the back of that. They've only picked up one Dragon. It's not super relevant. And I think you can see on this approach, QingTian's spotted on the flank, which is really important. If he was able to get on Betty, it could be very different. But this big clumped AoE, and then the knockback coming in from the Crescent Guard just completely disengages the rest of Rogue Warriors. And at that point, they kind of have to scatter and move away. JackeyLove free hitting, and everyone in Rogue Warriors a little bit too low to continue the fight. So I think it's fine, though. They managed to just reset things. They're still up in gold, especially thanks to that Baron buff. And very comfortable with this game going later.
So, Aux, I want to ask you a question now. I'm going to put you on the spot because this is that Baron play is the kind of play that we anticipate out of teams like top esports, teams like IG, or the top teams in the league, and the teams that have reputations for being creative. Would you now put Rogue Warriors in this category of a team that levels up to the opponent that they're up against? Because it feels like this is a different Rogue Warriors we're seeing today, a much more creative and cognizant Rogue Warriors than the win lane, win game style that we've seen during a lot of the hype train.
Honestly, yeah, I think a lot of things from this game are a lot more intelligent rather than just, we're just going to win lane and just be strong. You know, the draft was really smart. The pathing from Xiaohao combined with the setup from Rogue Warriors bot lane. The decision making to send that bot lane to defend that bot tier 2, which went so favorably for them. This just felt like Rogue Warriors really thinking carefully about their moves on the map and how they're going to play around things. And that's what's given them the lead. This isn't, you know, it's very hard to go up against top esports and be like, we're just going to win lane, lol, and then win the game. You really struggle to do that one. But they've played it intelligently, and as a result have bought themselves this lead. So there's a lot of positives to be said for this team so far, and it's about continuing that momentum, but they've definitely put themselves in a good spot.
You do have to wonder as well, does it count as rolling a 3 if it's not 369 on the roster? We'll have to see. QingTian on the flank, though. Could have another huge Sett engage. In he goes with the showstopper. The rest of the team here to follow up the haymaker onto 2. ZDZ on the front line. But it is only QiuQiu to go down. The damage was there. Karsa gets the kill onto Betty. What a play from Karsa. Realm Warp out to safety, though. Still 4 strong, but the 3 players remain from top esports. It's JackeyLove, Karsa, and Knight. 3v4 here. Knight with the Zhonyas has Kingslayer available. Flashes away. There's one for JackeyLove as they look for a little bit more as well. Karsa gets the red buff. The slow's coming down on Xiaohao. Chocho 1 HP. Forge getting tagged by the W. Taken down by Knight. Double kill for Knight as they look for a little bit more as well. Rogue Warriors consistently falling apart in these fights.
And it's just a flank pressure. This is the critical thing for top esports, being able to find those flank angles, and QingTian doing a beautiful job of forcing the flash from Betty. It allows karsa to follow up on that play, and this is the critical thing, is top esports, despite the fact they're down in gold, despite the fact they're dealing with this fed Aphelios, this difficult Ryze, they manage to find the angles of approach to get themselves a favorable fight and keep themselves relevant in this game. And now, you know, you were talking about it before, this is a 5-0 Sylas off the back of this fight, but this ult from QingTian doesn't give any reaction chance for Betty. Ults and back forces that flash, and then karsa finds this beautiful angle in just to cement the kill. Comes in with a ward hop, kicks him against the wall, and Knight is straight there to follow up. And it's a nice realm up to reposition. Honestly, though, I think they should have just looked to disengage off the back of this. They go for the pick onto Knight, but a great Zhonya's there. Baits them in, essentially, and allows JackeyLove just to clean up the kills.
Yeah, and this is where Ezreal really specializes, right? Just being able to get those autos in, get those Qs in, and finish kills off after the fight. Hex flash from QiuQiu, but won't find anything there. And I want to do a quick little shout out to QiuQiu because, you know, he's a player that's been heavily criticized on top esports since the start of time. In that fight, he does get onto Betty, managed to get pretty much all of his CC down onto Betty, but unfortunately the rest of the team couldn't follow up in that situation. Knight just had his hijack denied by Chocho. Very nicely done by the Rogue Warriors support. But now, Drake coming up in 1 second's time, and Rogue Warriors, they're just looking for mid lane towers. They don't care about this Drake. JackeyLove going to be soloing the Drake as the rest of top esports move over to try and contest. It's Karsa to finish this one off. Early smites just to get it done as fast as physically possible. Will take the Drake. That's 2 now. It was a tier 2 in the mid lane, traded by Rogue Warriors. They're toying with the idea of a Baron, but I think they're just going to move past QiuQiu with a Hex Splash that was perhaps a little dicey, but he gets away with it. Now Karsa wants to go for a Q. Top esports, could they look at the Baron? I wouldn't put it past them.
I think they may want to bait the Baron, but I'm not sure they can just definitely start it now. Realm Warp's going to come in just to scout out, make sure they haven't started it yet. And I think, honestly, Rogue Warriors made the right call. You don't need to stop that dragon for top esports. It gives you another 5 minutes before you have to fight. And I think you can see that they're struggling a little bit on the confidence to take these fights. They hit the 3-item spike for the Aphelios. This is his core items. He's doing a ton of damage. But I often say it's about 3 items plus, right? You want the defensive options to keep yourself safe. And I think Betty being able to get those will be a massive factor. You imagine Betty with the GA on top of those, you feel much more confident going into team fights on the back of that and much more comfortable.
JackeyLove with his signature E forwards, and now he's in trouble. Xiaohao's going to be locked in his tracks. I think JackeyLove's going to be okay on this one. Karsa backs out as well, but the rest of the fight going to ensue as in goes Knight in the middle of everyone. Zhonya's to keep himself safe. Health bar's getting pretty low on Rogue Warriors, but Forge chunking out the damage here as QingTian goes down. That EQ combo from Forge just annihilated top esports.
Yeah, you can see the difference between getting on the backline and kind of just being shredded by this AoE. Betty and Forge just doing so much damage in those clumped up fights, and you have to approach these intelligently. And this actually could be a favorable scenario for top esports because they're all corralled into the pit.
This is, we've seen top esports do this plenty of times before. Knight looking to get in the pit. Karsa gets it. Karsa, you beautiful man. That's his signature Lee Sin. He sacrifices his life to get this steal. Can the rest of the team get out, though? In they go. Xiaohao closing the gap. Forge is getting low as well. QiuQiu's off on the backside. He's buying time all across the entire team. And Rogue Warriors, they're falling apart here. Betty in a 1v1 with JackeyLove. Chocho next to him falls down. Knight closes the gap onto Betty as well. The double for Knight. And how do they do it every single time, Orcs? How is it possible?
They angered Rogue Warriors. They're like, we want to fight. You took the Baron off us. We want answers. And top esports are able to play with that, kiting back. You see Betty trying to push forwards, but he's not able to deal with JackeyLove. That frozen heart makes him too tanky. And now it's 3 members against 2. They have the Baron buff. They might just push for the end here. This is JackeyLove Knight so strong right now.
This is just classic top esports. Xiaohao has to start a fight here, has to try and do something, but the towers are going to be taken down. That's half of Forge's health just from the Haymaker. QingTian surviving. I think top esports gonna realm warp out to safety. They can't end for now, but I want to go back to what we said right at the start of the day, Aux. Oh, TES. Every single damn game, it doesn't matter how far behind they fall, you can still believe they'll come back.
Yeah, and I think this was just, you know, it ended up being a 50-50. It was a dangerous spot to be in, just the sheer threat of being in the Baron pit. But you see that they clearly want answers on this. They want to take down the Baron buffs. It's a massive overcommit here from Forge and Xiaohao. They go so far forwards and get chunked out by the Ezreal. And realistically, after this and the Baron damage, only Betty is a threat. And JackeyLove instantly jumps onto him. And because he has that frozen heart, Betty can't even trade with him. He's just doing so little damage per auto. There's no armor penetration. He has now picked up that last Whisper to sort of deal a bit more damage. But you could just see JackeyLove is so bulky with his Ezreal build. There was just no real threat to him.
The crazy thing is, top esports actually did less damage to Rogue Warriors across that fight. But with the nature of champions like Sett, like Sylas, you can do less damage and still survive longer. Drake coming up, though, in a minute's time. Let's talk Rogue Warriors, Aux, because it feels like they're losing control of the game. What do? How do they regain control of the map?
They want to have really good vision control and ensure they're not getting flanked on any approaches. Honestly, if you're feeling unconfident about this next team fight, you could just let the dragon go. And I feel like this may be the angle. The engage is coming in. This is honestly not too bad for Rogue Warriors. They are kiting backwards. And I think that's why we'll see top esports back away from this one. But they have control over the dragon area. I'm not sure you're going to be able to reestablish this. I think you're going to be on defensive mode for a bit longer from the side of Rogue Warriors. They have got their Zhonyas for Forge. They are going towards that low Dominix for Betty. You know, they may look to contest mid-priority and rotate from here, but there is a ward behind. No TP from QingTian, but if he finds a flank angle, I think Rogue Warriors lose not only the fight, but the game.
Knight going to TP straight in, going to push that bot wave and then move over to his team as Rogue Warriors group up and look to move through this jungle. Keep your eyes on Chocho. What he can block with the Unbreakable will be crucial in the fight, but Knight already stolen an ultimate, so that can't be blocked this time. Everfrost goes wide, though. And now JackeyLove east forward. QingTian's behind everyone. All of the AoE goes through, and the game might just be over, Aux. Rogue Warriors, they gave us a good showing. They gave us a good early game, but they fall apart when it matters the most, and QingTian gets a bit of redemption with a triple kill. After a rough early game, he takes over the fights.
And we see Knight and JackeyLove absolutely on fire in these fights. Rogue Warriors just unable to set up for these team fights, unable to find a 5v5 with a backline safe. QingTian consistently finding these engage angles just to shut down this Aphelios, and it just shows the sort of caliber of this team. The early game, bit rough. The draft obviously didn't help them out, but when it comes to the mid game onwards, when it comes to those team fights, they are absolutely on fire.
I mean, you can never quite count out top esports when they fall behind. The individual skill on these players is just off the charts. And just the confidence, man. When you see these fights, when you see the way that Knight and JackeyLove play, I think Knight and JackeyLove, we never talk about carry duos, really. When we talk about duos, it's usually the bot lane duo, or it's like mid jungle, or it's jungle top, or it's jungle support. We never talk about mid and ADC, and I think top esports is one of the few teams that you see Knight and JackeyLove playing as a pair in these fights very regularly, where Knight is almost like a he's carrying, but he's also almost a peel tool for JackeyLove to be able to carry simultaneously. The way that they work in tandem is just, it really is something to behold.
I think particularly in those moments, like we had that team fight around mid where we saw Betty try and step up. It's making sure that it's never like a 1v1. It's never a true fair fight, because you see Knight there ready to assist. And it means that they just can't handle the pressure. One carry is problematic. Two carries is very hard to deal with. And I think they showed that throughout that game, just despite the fact they didn't have the greatest early showing. Knight in particular had a rough laning phase. You know, we expected that from the Ryze pick. He definitely fell behind in farm. but he found so many great windows in the team fights, particularly that bot lane fight where we saw the karsa kick and he instantly followed up. It just feels like they're all on the same page. The team fighting's so smooth, so clean. And I mean, Ezreal does Ezreal things, but JackeyLove definitely does Ezreal things really well.
I mean, JackeyLove is, look, he's a very criticized AD carry this split. He dies too much, etc., etc. You cannot ever criticize his damage per minute. If there's one thing this man does, is damage per minute. Every single game, he's topping the damage charts. It's actually insane. But just look at that gold chart as well. Down 5,000 gold at one point. They are behind in gold for pretty much the entire game. But you can see those 3 consecutive fights where there's just a vertical line in the gold graph going in favor of top esports. Beautiful game coming out from them. And I think I really, really want to highlight QingTian here, because this game to me was a really good example of the positives and negatives of QingTian on this roster. He got solo killed in the laning phase. He fell pretty far behind in the laning phase. Like, he really struggled in the 1v1 against ADC. But then you come to the team fights, every single fight he's got a flank. Every single fight he's getting a multi-man facebreaker into a haymaker. Like, every single time he does it like clockwork. When it comes to the team fighting, if you set him up on a pick like this Sett, like the Renekton, these kind of picks that are great in the team fights, the man is a monster. We're going to jump into a break, and then we'll see if Rogue Warriors can come back from this deficit or if top esports have got the momentum. We'll be right back.